I'm a pusher. I push people. I push my friends to go on a trip to Italy with me. I push myself to create this YouTube channel. And now I'm going to push you because I know you want to travel more. Wait, is that what Tina Fey's character said in Mean Girls? Was that the quote? Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Katie and I love to travel and quote movies and just have fun. I wanted to create this YouTube channel because I wanted to share my experiences in travel, the research planning stages, and hopefully inspire you to incorporate more travel in your own life. I know with the pandemic right now that borders are closed, but hopefully they open up soon so we can all get back to exploring and taking more trips and just enjoying life more. Today I wanted to talk about my favorite trip, which is a trip to Italy that a couple of my friends and I took back in 2019. We did a 12-day trip, which was more like 10 days since you lose a day at the beginning and a day at the end for travel. So 12 days, but really 10 days in Italy. Also, stick around to the end of this video because I'm gonna reveal how we had happy hour at the Vatican, which not many people know that that's an option. So stick around, you're gonna learn how to do that. All right, so let's get into the day-to-day itinerary of my 12-day trip to Italy. We left on a Tuesday, April 30th, 2019, from Nashville, Tennessee, which is where we all live. We had a layover in Atlanta and then landed in Rome the next day, lost a day to travel. So we landed on May 1st, which is a Wednesday. So we landed at 11 a.m., took the train from the airport into the historic side of Rome. We checked into our Airbnb and took showers, cleansed ourselves to feel refreshed, stretched our legs from being cooped up on that 9-hour flight from Atlanta to Rome. We had one thing scheduled, and that was a food tour at 6 p.m. One of the keys to not having jet lag is to have something planned later to keep you awake and fall asleep at the local times, kind of your normal bedtime, but for that local time of the destination in which you're at. So we had planned a food tour, which I highly recommend taking a food tour. Your first day in any destination, on any trip that you do, food tours. The reason why is you don't have to find a restaurant for that meal. It's all planned out for you. You get a lot of history, you get to see some different sites. We did our food tour in the Jewish ghetto, which was not a neighborhood that any of our other planned sites or destinations in Rome covered. So we got to see the Jewish ghetto, learn about its history and how it came to be. You get to get acclimated to your surroundings by the tour. It was a walking tour, as well as eat so much food. So much food. Our food tour started at 6 p.m. and it was 4 hours, so it went all the way to 10 p.m. And over the course of the tour, we went to many different restaurants and sampled food at all the restaurants. Now, I say samplings, but these were like massive portions. And I know here in America, we have massive portions to begin with compared to other countries, especially in Europe. But these were good sized portions for samples. So our first restaurant that we had on our food tour, we tasted some fried artichokes. Then we went to another place and tasted some different pizza. Another place we sampled some wine and had some meat and cheese. Then we sat down at a nicer restaurant and sampled 3 different pasta dishes and had as much pasta as we wanted. Then our next place we had some gelato, then we had an espresso at another place, and then ended with a tiramisu. By the end of the food tour, we were stuffed, maybe a little tipsy with the wine, maybe a little jittery with the espresso and the coffee, but definitely a great experience. I would highly recommend to do on any trip your first day. Day 2, we had a trip to the Colosseum planned for 12 o'clock. That gave us time to sleep in, mosey on about, not feel rushed, go get something to eat or drink if we wanted to, and then head to the Colosseum. Our Airbnb was like a 5-minute walk to the Colosseum, and we had purchased our tickets to the Colosseum before we even left, which, pro tip, purchase anything, tickets to museums, sites, tours, as much as you can before the trip. It saves you so much time in waiting, headache, hassle, all of that. Highly recommend buying your tickets ahead of time. So we purchased just admission to the Coliseum. We didn't get a guided tour because we wanted to save a little bit of money. So we actually downloaded Rick Steves' audio guide to the Coliseum for free. It included a little map, and he gave kind of the highlights and talking points as you roamed around the Coliseum. And I think that was perfect. Save the money on a guided tour and just download Rick Steves' audio guide because it'll save you money, and I think it was just as good. Buying your ticket in advance also allows you to kind of skip the line, so to speak. There is a huge line at the Coliseum, no matter what day, what time, whatever, you go to the Coliseum, there is such a long line to buy tickets to get in the Coliseum. There was a long line for us to kind of get into the Coliseum, even though we'd already purchased tickets. We waited about 30 minutes to an hour, but that was not near as long as the line to buy tickets and then wait to get into the Coliseum. That was double, triple, quadruple the waiting time. Do not recommend it. There are no trees around to shade you from the sun. You're sweating because you're probably going in the summertime. We went, like I said, beginning of May. So it was warm, but I can't imagine if you went in June, July, heaven forbid August, you would be dead trying to wait for that line. After the Coliseum, we then toured the Roman Forum. That was included in our ticket package. After the Roman Forum, we were so exhausted, tired of walking, but there was one more place that we wanted to visit before we went back to our Airbnb to rest, and that was the Holy Stairs. So we did take our one and only Uber ride to the Holy Stairs. Looking back on it now, it was such a short walk, we could have walked, but sitting in the comfortable air-conditioned van was a moment of reprieve, let me tell you. But if you're not aware of what the Holy Stairs are, the Holy Stairs are a set of marble steps that most Catholics believe Jesus crossed or climbed up those stairs on his way to the crucifixion. So they hold meaning to a lot of people. Millions of people go every year and climb up each step on their knee, saying a prayer to feel closer to Jesus, feel closer to God. It's definitely an emotional and spiritual experience. Now, the Holy Stairs were covered in wood back in 1723. So over 300 years, they were covered in wood as not to ruin the marble steps. But in April 2019, around the time that we went, to June 2019, they removed the wood coverings to restore the marble steps. However, those who were visiting still got to climb the steps. So instead of climbing with the wood coverings over the steps, we were actually touching the marble steps. It was such a cool experience. I will say there was one drawback. It was painful also. And the reason why, I didn't even think of this. Yes, it's marble steps. You're climbing on your knees, each step, saying a prayer. But since millions of people have made this climb, there were divots in the middle of each step. So you weren't placing your knee just on a solid marble flat surface. You're placing your knee in the middle of a little crevice of each step from the wear and tear of people climbing up that, which is why they covered it with wood to keep the integrity of the steps. But since they were restoring the steps, we were directly on the marble. That was so painful. In addition to the crevice being painful, it took so long to climb up the stairs. There weren't that many, I don't know how many steps there actually were, but people would sometimes take really long to climb up the next step. Either they were saying really long prayers, they didn't want to leave the moment, for whatever reason, were taking really long times. Now, there were workers at the Holy Stairs that would constantly remind you to keep going, because there were many people that needed or wanted to climb these stairs, so they didn't want you to stay there forever. So you kind of were on a timeline. You were very encouraged to keep going, but you were at the mercy of the person in front of you, on your knees, if you got done with your prayer, or just if you weren't praying, just standing there. So you're on your knees waiting for the next person in front of you to climb up to the next step. So it was a long process. Another neat thing about the marble stairs, and I don't know if it's just my imagination, if I'm just putting it there, but it definitely looked like there were blood stains on the steps, on each step. So if you're religious and if you believe that Jesus did climb those stairs on his way to the crucifixion, it does kind of give you this eerie sense that, what if that's Jesus's blood? I don't know. But all in all, definitely a cool experience. I can't even describe just the emotions of making that climb up the stairs. That night, we ended up going to a restaurant for dinner that was part of our food tour. Another reason why a food tour is something that you should add to the beginning of your trip is that you can go back to the restaurants that you visited next days. You've already sampled some of their food, so you know it's good. So we went to one of the restaurants that was on our food tour, met up with some people who were on our tour that were eating at that restaurant as well, and then had wine with them after dinner. So all in all, it was such a cool day. We took the fast train to Florence for the next part of our trip in Italy. In Florence, we checked into our Airbnb, and then again, we had purchased tickets previously before our trip to the Uffizi Gallery. So we skipped the line. That was a much faster skip. There were people waiting, I would say, a really long time to get into the Uffizi Gallery. Again, did another audio guide for free with Rick Steves. Day 5, we had planned to do a wine tour. So it was going to be an all-day event from 9 in the morning to about 5 in the evening. It was a small group tour that we had scheduled. There was 8 of us in total on this tour, and we hopped in a van and explored some vineyards in Tuscany. Went to 2 family-run vineyards, as well as a couple small towns outside of Florence. So we got to experience a smaller vibe, energy. All in all, with the wine tour, if you were drinking all the available wine to you, it was about 11 glasses of wine. So really great experience. Definitely recommend a wine tour at some point if you're going to Italy. One of the things that I really wanted to do in Florence was climb to the Piazzale Michelangelo. Oh my God, I probably totally butchered that. Don't make fun of me. Or you probably make fun of me. Michelangelo Square. You climb to this really high point on the outskirts of Florence, and you get this beautiful skyline of Florence, which is amazing at sunset. That next day, one of my friends had a cooking class that our other friend and I didn't want to do. So while she was off at her cooking class, we were exploring the city. So we just did a lot of walking around. After my friend's cooking class ended, we all met at the Pitti Palace, which was part of our ticket with the Uffizi Gallery. It was a combo ticket, and we were able to use it the next day at the Pitti Palace and the Boboli Gardens attached to the Pitti Palace. So the Pitti Palace, at the time that we were visiting, were having an animal exhibit. So all the couture fashion lines were displaying their take with different animal themes. So going room to room, seeing different dresses that were different animal themes. So snake theme, spider theme. Once we got through the animal exhibit in the Pitti Palace, we went to the Boboli Gardens, which is just behind the Pitti Palace, which is a massive garden. That was a really nice way to end our day in Florence. So the next day, we actually left Florence. So it's kind of very fast paced, spending only a couple days in each city. So from Florence, we took the fast train to Naples. In Naples, I had the best pizza of my life. I'm a huge pizza fan. And really, I don't care if it's Chicago style, New York style, thick crust, thin crust, frozen pizza at a restaurant, handmade. I love pizza. But all of the pizza that I've ever had does not compare to the pizza that I had in Naples. That is by far the best pizza I have ever had in my life. So good. I had pizza in Naples for lunch and dinner the entire time we were there. Did not get sick of it. So good. So we spent the first day roaming around, went down Christmas Alley in Naples, which is this long stretch of alley with different vendors selling their Christmas themed decorations. Our second day in Naples, we actually didn't spend specifically in Naples. We took the train and went to Pompeii. Once we arrived in Pompeii, before we actually did the visit of the city, we took a guided van ride up Mount Vesuvius, and it only took you so far. It took you as close as it could, and then you had to get out and climb the rest of the way. So that 20-minute climb up, thought I was in shape. I was wrong. Bout popped a lung. The views from the top of Mount Vesuvius were so cool. There was even a little bit of smoke coming from the top of the volcano. Kind of scary, but I mean, that's the risk you take when you're climbing a volcano, is that it could erupt at any time. There's like 7 million people in the red zone if Mount Vesuvius were to erupt again. Crazy. But the views from the top of Mount Vesuvius were so cool. You got to see the Bay of Naples, see down to the Amalfi Coast, Sorrento. So cool. So I would definitely recommend, if you're willing and able, to make that climb up Mount Vesuvius. I think it was about a 20-minute climb from where our van dropped us off to the top. So that kind of gives you an estimate. Once we climbed back down from the volcano, we hopped back in the van, made our way to the base of the volcano, and then explored the rest of the city of Pompeii, which was very sobering. It's just an amazing place to visit as far as seeing the damage and devastation that the volcano did. Was that 79 AD? Just amazing. Our next day after our trip to Pompeii, we left Naples and then made our way down to the Amalfi Coast. We had our home base in Sorrento. Our host for our Airbnb, so amazing. His wife made homemade limoncello, which is native to that area just because of all the lemons that they grow in the Amalfi Coast. I'm talking lemons the size of your head. But his wife made limoncello, and he presented that to us for our stay, which was amazing. We did tour a lemon garden in Sorrento, in which they were offering free samples of limoncello. That was a little sweeter and not as strong as what our host's homemade limoncello was. So we got to kind of compare and contrast different recipes, one that's more refined in their process, I would say more professionally made, where our host's limoncello is just their homemade, made from scratch limoncello. Can't even say made from scratch. Everything in Italy is made from scratch. So whatever, but homemade versus a more refined professional process. Both good. After exploring Sorrento a bit, the next day we took the ferry down to Positano, part of the Amalfi Coast. I highly recommend taking a ferry. We just took one. Cool experience. It was a quick way to go down the Amalfi Coast. The views were amazing, and it offered us a little bit different mode of transportation. After exploring Positano and doing some shopping, we then took the bus back to Sorrento and had dinner. The next day, we then checked out of our Airbnb, traveled back to Naples, then from Naples back to Rome for our last night in Italy. Now, for what you've probably been waiting for the entire video, our last night in Italy, our last night in Rome, we had happy hour at the Vatican. When I was doing all of my research, I came across this amazing website that really gave you anything and everything you wanted to know about Rome. So the website, romewise.com, I'll link it in the description. If you're going to Rome, check out her website. It is amazing with anything you could possibly want to know. So I was researching how to get tickets to the Vatican, the best times to visit if you want to have maybe less crowds, kind of tips and tricks before we went. And on her website, she gives all that information, but then lets you in on a little secret. And that is, on select Fridays during April through May, I believe, you can get a special ticket after hours. So the Vatican closes its normal tours at 6:30 and then reopens a little after that, and you can purchase an evening ticket to enter the museums but also have happy hour. So this is one free glass of wine. You can have additional glasses of wine after that for purchase, but one free, or that's included with your ticket, I guess. It's not free, you're paying for it. But one that's included with your ticket, as well as what they call some light snacks. These are light snacks. This is a buffet of food. You can totally skip dinner, have wine, have the buffet, and they even have some music playing outside. When you're done chilling out on the Pinecone lawn, you can go through the Vatican Museum at night, which is such a cool experience. It's way less crowded. There's still some crowds, but it's way less crowded than it is during the daytime. You feel like you kind of get the Vatican museums to yourself. You can explore, the sun's down, it's dark, so it gives that really like eerie, cool vibe to it. And I think the neatest part of all, I think, is at the end of the museum, when you get to the Sistine Chapel, you can sit there and just look at the ceiling or all of the artwork in the Sistine Chapel for much longer than what you can get away with during the daytime tours. During the daytime tours, they are pushing you through like cattle. You only get a few minutes before you're being pushed by so many people to get out so they can explore the Sistine Chapel. So this happy hour ticket, a night tour of the museum, is such an awesome experience. You can explore the museum and stay there way longer than during the daytime. We didn't do the guided tour part of it, so it's not a guided tour with a ticket. Again, we used Rick Steves' audio guide, free download, save some money. Do Rick Steves. There's no reason to get a guided tour. Download it, it's free, and it's such an amazing experience. So those are some things that we did on our trip to Italy. This was such a really long video. Hopefully you found it useful, entertaining. Maybe it gave you some inspiration for some things that you can do on your own trip. If you like this video, then like it, click subscribe. I have a lot of travel videos planned, so stick around, and ciao for now.